Recording has started.
Hello and good evening. Very warm welcome to you all on the 6th day of Executive Development Program, which is 8th batch in the series. My sincere gratitude to ICAI President, wherein we at Committee for Members in Industry and Business have got this opportunity to make a difference in your lives with these sessions. Since this initiative started in April, we have got very positive feedback, and we are very happy to see that it has benefited large number of members. Today, we have a very interesting session starting with technology and its impact on the accounting profession from a very learned speaker, Anand, who is very well known among our fraternity in India and across the world. Allow me to introduce Anand. Anand is a passionate evangelist for tech-based disruption in audit and finance domain. Anand is professionally a chartered accountant and a certified information system auditor. He is managing partner at ICAI, which is an organization focusing in the areas of forensic audit, IS audit, fraud analytics, and blockchain for internal audit function. Earlier, Anand had worked in risk management team of Goldman Sachs. He had also worked in EES consulting group at Infosys Technologies Limited. And he has been involved in enterprise risk management implementation and IT audit for many international projects in US, UK, Japan, China. He is a visiting faculty for IIM Bangalore, teaching IS audit and fraud analytics. He is on the committee of IRDA for cybersecurity audit. He has been a key contributor for forensic audit and investigation standards issued by our institute. He has been a speaker at North America CACS and also in Europe, Euro CACS of ISACA. He has been a great contributor to our members and ICAI, and thank you, Anand, for taking out time and agreeing to be here and speaking on a very important topic. Whenever I have met Anand, he has mesmerized with the way he speaks, and he connects with the audience very well. So, Anand, we all are looking forward to you, and I request our members who are present here to please give a big virtual round of applause, and Anand, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bodhi. And hello, Raghunathan sir, and it's great to be here. And
hello, sir.
Yeah, so as Bodhi was saying, a very good friend, and I'm always, very impressed by his, capability as Toastmasters and amazing stuff he does out there. And great to be there with all of you. And thanks, Prabhati, for this opportunity. So, friends, as Prabhati said, I have 1 hour. I thought, I'll actually try to use this time most effectively, which we can actually do. And all of you guys are young, ready to go, raring to go, I would say. And you are like, what we call it as the future of our profession in one way. You guys are going to be taking this torch to the next level. And it's great to be among all of you because as young professionals, you have a lot of ideas, a lot of thought process which works up. And that's something which makes us unique. As chartered accountant, we have come a long way. And we have seen the dynamism in our profession also, where people have adapted to a lot of new things. Now, as the topic which was given to me today, I would like to keep it very interactive and feel free to have any questions in between. And also in the last, I'll keep around 5 to 10 minutes for that, because I'm sure as young members, you would have a lot of questions, friends. But let's try to understand what's happening, what's the change, and why we are actually having a session like this on emerging tech, because, usually chartered accountants, as we have, been working on. Okay. Just sharing the screen. I hope you can see the screen now. So we have been, in forefront of a lot of change which is happening in business. And there is a kind of a saying, wherever there's a business, there is a chartered accountant. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, the business around us, or what we call it as the way we think the world around us is changing. And there is a term which has come now, disruptive tech, emerging tech, which is really changing the way we see business. I have one of the question, if I ask, some of you would laugh at me, but Prabhadeep would probably, and Ranganathan sir would be able to connect to that. But the point is, how many of you heard about an item called pager? There used to be an industry called pager industry, which used to be like working on SMS. Instead of SMS, we used to have this paging, page me at this number. That used to be the way out. And today, no one knows about that. That whole industry is totally gone. Now, that kind of extinctions are going to happen in a lot of professions. And I'm telling you, last 2 years, if you have seen the way the pandemic has accelerated the thing, we are already seeing a lot of change in the way business is being carried out. Sometimes it becomes very frustrating also, but it's also interesting because you can't live without this tech, and businesses has to adapt to that. And we have all heard the survival of the fittest, or it is survival of the one who adapt to the environment which is out there. So as I talk about emerging tech in most of my discussion also, I always try to bring out one element of the fourth industrial revolution, because that's something is what is, driving this whole emerging tech gambit. And friends, just to tell you something very interesting here, if you are actually going to World Economic Forum, in fact, the 2021, their theme is on fourth industrial revolution. It was a theme which was in 2016, they had it up, and they have revised the theme once again on fourth industrial revolution this year. Now, why they are telling about that is there is a lot of things which is working and it's changing the way we look at that. So we'll try to deep dive into that. But before I deep dive into that, let's try to do some checking. Friends, fundamentally, our institute has given us a what we call as the core literacy. We understand a lot of concepts. We understand a lot of things which is working, how business function. We understand the concepts from finance. We understand the concept of costing and all things. But ultimately, it needs to be adapted somewhere, right? It will be something which we have to be using it out there. And when you try to use it, ultimately, we learned something very interesting in our financial management. I'm sure all of you heard about Black-Scholes model. It's an amazing thing. We have muggified the whole formula. We went in the examination. We wrote it. Okay, here's the Black-Scholes model. It's good. But when you go into the real life situation, Black-Scholes model understanding is great. That's something which is there. But adoption of that, you will never actually see someone actually, memorizing it and writing it down and putting it up there. It is like, encoded everywhere out there. And so it becomes that the question will be asked to us, what is the value add we are bringing to the table? And that is our critical thinking skills, our way we deal with that. And I will not say that you have to become a technologist, but our adoption of technology. We should know as a problem solver what technology to use, when, how it has to be worked out, and what are the key things which need to work out. So my idea is, some of you may be very interested in this technology, would like to make a career like that. Someone like me, I just was into core of IS audit, forensic, digital forensic, and blockchain, and blah, 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 all these things I went to. Some people would be there in the core finance, but they will be using this technology. And there are some people who will be enabling that. All the three set of people are basically coming from our profession as chartered accountant. Even if you today go to an organization like Infosys and you search for a role of data scientist on the job, you'll find that one of the requirements will be MBA finance or chartered accountant. Now that shows that yes, we have the capability to be able to work on this kind of domain. So in either of these three situations, we don't want to become this guy. Yeah, Luddites. That's the thing which you don't want to become. And if anyone knows Luddites, and if you Google this term, it's a very interesting term. This is the term which was used for the leaders of revolt. These are the, people who were against the garment industry at the time when the first industrial revolution came. And this Luddites used to basically, go around and destroy the factories. If you see the name today, it is used in dictionary for anyone who is opposed to new technologies, who says if any new technology comes, it is going to impact us. And I'm sure a lot of you, especially if you have been in traditional practice, if you have, work, we have all gone through our, ages of articleship and all the things. if you have seen that, a lot of things which used to be taken as granted at a chartered accountant, like income tax filing and all things, those things are now already becoming automated. And there, see, we are also known as a skilled laborers because we sell our services. So what happens is, when technology becomes more and more interesting, it's going to impact us, whether we like it or not. Now, as you guys are young out there raring to go, you need to plan it up in a much better way, how you're going to leverage it, how you're going to work around this, and whether you're talking about international taxation, whether you're talking about core finance, everywhere it is going to be impacted. When I say international taxation, if anyone has been working in transfer pricing and all things, without the technological support which is required, you can't do the stuff which all we are doing. We all know that. Now, what is there stopping that systems becoming more advanced or changing out there? Now, if you want to know more about that, because I have a very 1 hour time, I would like to use it more effectively. You should read this two very nice piece of artifacts which I say. One is the book which is the Future of Profession, and this was written by Richard Susskind, and I have a big regard for Richard Susskind because of one reason and one reason only. The last book he wrote, he actually predicted something around in 1999 that emails are going to become the de facto business communication mode worldwide. And today we are seeing it. In 1999 he wrote, and it's already 21 years, we still have email as a de facto mode of communication worldwide. It's happening, right? And that is the prediction which came right. And in this book, he's actually predicting about three professions. He's predicting about accountants, lawyers, and doctors. He talked about these three professions worldwide. And I would not try to be the spoiler, but if you read it up, you'll understand better what are the things which are going to impact us. And it's basically the technology which is transforming us. And when I say technology which is transforming us, this actually are the area which is going to change drastically stuff which we are doing now. And it is going to create, I'm sorry to use the word, redundancy. And redundancy is a very bad word in US and all the things, if you have heard about that. But the point is, it's going to create that there are two things. Would you like to have a human to do the job, or would you like to the machine to do the job? When machine can do it easier, faster, better, without taking breaks and all things. That's the reason I don't know how many of you are hearing this one very interesting thing called universal income. There are people talking about universal income right now. In fact, me and Prabhuji sir are safe. We are like little, in our that part that will survive for maybe 20, 30 years more. So we'll anyway, you guys have to worry about more of that. So think about that, read about universal income. It's a very interesting concept that everyone should get some basic stuff done. And the second piece of artifact, which is not very old, it is just going to be the next version is coming up in October. It will be coming up. So we are already in September. Next month, you will have the new version coming up. I am actually desperately waiting for that. My daughter is in class 10 and I'm actually planning what she should be doing it up. And so that's the reason I'm actually waiting for that. The Future of Job Report. It is coming from World Economic Forum. I would highly recommend you to download it. And especially young chartered accountant. I would suggest you should think about this really seriously. And because it's important, emerging tech is going to affect us. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to tell you, let's take informed decisions. That's what we have to be worried about, right? And those things are talking about a kind of collective mindset of worldwide what's going to happen. And they are telling about that, friends, you would be not very happy to see the report of 2020 because third line item, which is there on that, of decreasing demand, they have given accountant and auditors worldwide. They are talking about that. So there are a lot of professions which are there, but our profession is number 3 in decreasing demand, which is not a good thing. So we need to see, but there is a kind of a saying. When one door closes, maybe another door opens. So there is a new door which is opening where our skill set as people who have a good understanding of business processes, business function, understanding, because one of the first auditing standard we are told is knowledge of the business. Before you start doing auditing, you have to have a knowledge of the business. So that is a kind of added benefit which we can do. And when I was telling you in the starting of my discussion about the fourth industrial revolution, this is what, friends, I was talking about. I was talking about this changes which has happened. And if you actually read about that, I don't want to take the blast out of your thing. You would love to have an own thing. There is a book by this name, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is from World Economic Forum. I would suggest you read about that because they talk about that we are right now entered in 2015. We entered the fourth industrial revolution, so we are just starting up. So what is this industrial revolution? I'll just explain you very quickly in 1 minute. They say that when the first time steam power was coming into picture, that was the first industrial revolution because people started going deep into this. They said, oh, this is actually going for mass production and all thing. And you saw that Luddites were those people at that point of time who were doing a lot of interesting things. Okay. Then that started in 1784, but the peak came in 1800. It took like 30 to 40 years before the peak will come. Then came the second industrial revolution that started in 1870, but the peak came in 1930. You see, it took 60 years for that revolution to come mature it up. Now, the peak, if you have seen that movie by Charlie Chaplin, there's a movie very interesting, Modern Times. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to read it or watch that movie. You see that Charlie Chaplin going into the machine, coming out, and all the things. That was the electrical power, electrical energy using for, again, assembly line and mass production. And that changed in Industry 2.0. And the third one was Industry 3.0, which was computers, electronics. It started in 1970, around 69-70. But we saw the benefit of that coming in the 90s or 1999, 2000 when the boom came, dot-com boom and all things. So any kind of revolution, it takes some time to mature it up. And as per World Economic Forum, in 2015, we entered the fourth industrial revolution. So we are already 6 years in the fourth industrial revolution. And you are already seeing a lot of changes happening across us. I'm sure in last 6 years, you have seen the way we are using internet, the way the world has become a more closer place. We have so much of technology which is being adapted, IoTs and everything. And that's disrupting the old way of business and creating new opportunities. So everything goes in both the way. It actually have disturbance for the old stuff, create new opportunity. So what are the old stuff it is disrupting? So as Prabhati was saying, I used to work for Goldman Sachs, and when I was in Goldman Sachs, we used to actually, whenever I used to visit US, the first thing we wanted to go is the UBS floor, because UBS has at that point of time one of the biggest trading floors. You require a lot of traders. Okay. Now, all of you have heard about algorithmic trading. If not, you should check out Zerodha and other platforms who offer this algorithmic trading. Now they have started coming now, but the industry, the Wall Street, adapted this tech long back, and you see the difference in 11 years. What used to be a big, forum filled up with all these people was close to empty, and today, in fact, they have shut down this operation only. Now, you see the difference here? That shows the speed at which things are changing. And since 2015, as I told you, when we entered, as per the World Economic Forum, this is the book, Klaus Schwab, anyone want the book, just ping me after the session. I will share my email ID, and I'm more than happy to share the book with you. Please go through it. It's a very interesting book. And when I read the book, there was a particular statement which was made by Klaus Schwab, who's the founder and chairman of World Economic Forum. He made one very interesting thing out there. He said, we stand on a brink of technological revolution that would fundamentally alter the way we live, the way we relate to one another, and see these things. The scale, the scope, and the complexities of this is anything which humankind has ever seen. It's going to be really, really transformed. If you ask some of your senior, partners, or if you ask your parents, they will tell you one thing, that last 10 years has been really very, aggressive in terms of the transformation which has happened. So this is the change which is happening. Just to, drive this point to you in an example, I would like to tell you, I don't know how many of you have, seen this. To reach 100 million consumers or customers, the telephone as an invention took 75 years. The World Wide Web, it took 7 years. Facebook, 4 years to reach 100 million users. And Insta took around 2 years. But if you have played the game, if it's a fun game, Pokemon Go, it has 100 million users in 1 month. Now that shows the speed at which adoption. You see this thing, what he said, the scale, the scope, and the complexity and the speed were going to be big. And that's what has already started happening. So friends, these changes are having that. You can see this is some of the things they are talking about. New roles, stable roles, redundant roles. And I'm sorry to use in the report, you can see accounting, accountants and auditors. We are coming in the redundant roles. As per this is actually extract from the report which I was talking about. So this doesn't show a good things out here. It shows us that there are changes which are going to happen. And if you have heard the famous statement by Nokia's outgoing, the last, CEO of Nokia, he said that we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. That's something which is very important. One of the learning from this is the advantage you had yesterday. I know I may be the devil's advocate here, telling you something. Everyone would have been praising you. Okay, you are a CA now, the rock stars and all the things. You have 2 horns on your head and all the things. But let me tell you something, that whatever we had the advantage, it is replaced by the trends of tomorrow changing. That's something which you have to learn from the Nokia example. And you need to change, improve yourself. Otherwise, it's going to be something what happened with that. They thought, okay, touch phones are just afraid it will go away. It is not going to be there. And that was a mistake. That was the emerging tech. Today, every phone which you use, smartphone, is a touch phone. And they didn't do it, and they were discarded. And those who refuse to learn and improve, are going to become redundant and more redundant. So it will be a lesson in hard and expensive way. In fact, I remember I went to one of the session for Indian Oil Corporation. Sometime back, they have a training center in Gurgaon called IIPM, Indian Institute of Petroleum Management. And it was interesting. At the reception, they have a huge mural, okay? And the mural says, change before you are forced to change. And that part was very interesting because, you have to change before you are forced to change. I know a lot of too much of change management is also not good, but at a level, some of the points which we need to be aware of is on to learn the lesson in a hard, expensive way, or we are forced to do that. Now, that brings us to the second part of my discussion, the new emerging tech, the new ABCD, or whatever we can talk about. And friends, these are actually not just one technology, okay? I always give an example, and let me share with you. If anyone asks you who invented computers, a lot of people will say Charles Babbage, right? But actually it is a wrong answer. Because Charles Babbage is known as the father of computer. He is not known as the inventor of computers. Because actually no one invented a computer. Computer, what we see as a personal computer today, is actually a kind of a assembling of multiple things. If you see, earlier we used to buy a laptop or desktop, they say, I'll assemble a desktop for you. Assemble means you will put one hard disk, one keyboard, one monitor, everything will come together, and you have. So there are multiple things which are working together. Even in the emerging tech, there's not one thing which is like, okay, here I am going to do everything. No. There are going to be multiplicity of things. And under each head also, there are a lot of technologies which are there, which are changing, which are, working on the way that it impacts multiple facets of work. On the same side, it will also be having things which can impact us in a different way altogether. So all these things has to be looked into. All these things we need to work it out. So what are the new ABCD things? The new ABCD are basically, we call it automation and AI. Automation and AI is a big word because automation can happen anywhere. I don't know how many of you have automated your LinkedIn. You guys will be very active on LinkedIn, one of you. So how do you find out good connects, who actually meet your kind of people you would like to connect with? Now, one thing is that you can actually search it, or can you automate using bots? I do it automate using bots because I have a kind of some liking of people I would like to meet with, connect with them. And that makes sense. That why should I waste my time when I have actually fixed it up and the bot can do it for me? It's an automation, an RPA, robotic process automation, or areas like using IoTs, Internet of Things. I don't know. Right now also we are in my office. I have bulbs and all things, which is controlled by Alexa. Now these are all smart bulbs. So you just say Alexa, switch off the bulb, and the bulb just goes off. Now these are IoTs. These are also an automation because it's just to make it much better. And then we have AI, artificial intelligence, which is also impacting us. In the short term, it may not be so much impactful, but it's showing its flavor. Machine learning and all things, and I'm sure you have been working with a lot of these bots. You talk to a lot of people on health files and all things. Those are not actually real people. You are talking to a machine that time, and it's becoming better and better with time. Blockchain, amazing technology, piece of technology, which is going to disrupt, I would say, from double entry system of bookkeeping to triple entry system of bookkeeping. We'll discuss that. Cybersecurity control, when so much is actually lying on all this new environment, or I would say emerging tech, then the tech has to be protected. We all have been told about integrity of systems, because integrity of system is only going to decide on how things are going to work it out. And the last, because we are living in a data age, and there are famous sayings right now like data is the new oil and all the things. So this analysis of data can give you insight which maybe we didn't even knew earlier existed or was there. So let's try to deep dive into one by one each of them. Try to understand how they are impacting. This is one very interesting survey done by PwC. They do a global CFO survey, and I just thought I'll share with you. As per the survey, they said that in the near term today, this is actually around 1 year back we did it, RPA is actually, automation is happening a lot. You are seeing, I come from Bangalore. In Bangalore, there was a time when there used to be a huge amount of BPO, KPOs and other things. All night there will be, shuttles going around in the city, 24 hours, supporting US and all things. And those businesses are now on a downward trend. Why? Because they can automate it up. They used to require a lot of people to do reconciliation works. Now reconciliation works and all things can be done by machines. We can do better things. So this is to be the RPA. Now everyone is looking at RPA in the near term. So, and they are also using some basic AI, basic level, they're not a very advanced level, and blockchain. So these are the things which they are actually working on as of now. In midterm, we can see there is going to be less of RPA, more of basic and intermediate AI, and blockchain will expand. And next 3 to 5 years, as per the prediction, they say RPA will be minuscule, and more thing will be on basic, intermediate, and advanced AI, and blockchain will be good. Now that shows us a very interesting trend out there. The trend is, it's happening because of one thing and one thing only. We have an explosion of data, huge amount of data. Today, you see data everywhere. It is there in the organization, and it is there everywhere. We call that as the big data, which is something like you've heard about the 4 V's: velocity, variety, veracity, and volume of data. Think of this: you have your SAP data from your organization. How can you connect this with this open source data of government data? They have also put all this data outside. Today, if I have to check it up, that related party disclosure of any organization, I can do this using tools like Election Commission of India database, my MC database, or this data set, which is already telling me what is the relationship between multiple people. Okay. So things like this, we are actually in a mode which we call as data explosion. A huge amount of data is out there. And this data, now people are saying, okay, we have the great data. How do we use it? And the question is very important, because a lot of time we have data, we don't know that. Like, I'll give you one very basic example. In cybersecurity, we call it up. Every device in the world is being logged. Everything you do, like people are very happy by deleting their history that, oh, no one knows what I'm doing. but very few people know everything you're doing is being managed or looked into. Now, when you have so much of data, what can you do with this? Now, I'll just give you one basic example here. This is an example of data mining. Okay, this is the data which is there in SAP system of any organization. So all of you are aware of SAP system. It generates a huge amount of data. It's an ERP system. It's a control system. You keep all your transactions out there. You manage it out there. Now, so far people were happy. Okay, this is my ERP system. But when you try to analyze this data, you get insight which you never knew. This is the real data of some sales process, and I'm sure all of you have heard about something about O2C, order to cash process, which is like, sales order will be created, then there will be billing document, then there will be sales which happen, then you will collect them within the due date. This is an SOP, a standard operating procedure, which is there in any organization. And when there is an SOP like this, which is there, what do you do? As let's say I'll tell a role of you are a finance controller of the organization. You would like to know whether people are following this or not. You are an auditor. You want to see the exceptions. If you are from a senior management, you want to know how can I improve it. Now, so far, this data was always there. It's not that people never, do it. There is one interesting thing I'm sharing with you. This is my personal experience. And Prabhadeep sir will agree with me to some extent. Let's see if he agrees or not. So the point is, friends, one of my mentor used to tell me that the biggest knowledge a person can have is the knowledge that he doesn't know anything. But it is ulta in the real life, you'll see. Everyone thinks I know everything. And that happens with even great leaders. Nokia, I gave you an example. Do you think the top management was fools? No, they are amazing smart people. They are being paid millions of dollars salary. And still, today also, there are a lot of organizations like that. I was reading one very interesting article in HBR. In Harvard Business Review, they said that the organization which has survived, if you see the average life of organization on Fortune 500 is around 2.5 to 3 years only. That's they're not more than that. And they said the organization which has survived, one of the very interesting mindset they had is experimental mindset, which means they will actually try new things. And they are very fast at knowing whether it will work or not. If it doesn't work, they'll stop it. But you see a lot of leaders who have a kind of a thought, oh, no, we know everything and let it be stable and all things. So the people who are adopting things early are going to be the leader. And those are the things which we need to keep in mind. I would like you guys as professionals to always have this experimental mindset. I know we have been told as chartered accountant to be conservative. We are very, very conservative. But I'm feeling conservatism should be there in financial statement, not in your way of doing things. You should be actually having an experimental mindset to try these things. Otherwise, it is going to be a very tough thing for all of us. So coming back, as I was telling you, a lot of people think, oh, we have all this information. We know this is happening, that is happening, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But when you analyze this, and we analyze the SAP data, okay, let me just look at you and show. You see that, okay, no, what is happening is there are new paths getting created. Doing the data mining, you're finding there are a lot of daily documents were created immediately after sales order, and a lot of time it was not created at all. Then you try to go even more deeper, and this is like basically what we call it as nothing. It is a time logged information of every transaction which is happening, which the machine is trying to represent it visually. Because we all know a picture is worth 1,000 words. It can actually help you analyze where the problem is. And on top of that, you can even, basically see the whole transaction in real life. Where are the, problem happening? So I can see the flow of transaction. I can see that, okay, there are billing document creation. There is a lot of block, which is going very slow. What is the reason? Do we need to increase the FT headcounts out there, full-time employees headcount? Or is there some real reason why this is going on? So I can actually analyze things in a better way. You can see it's going very slow, but there is a movement out there. And that tells us what actually is happening in the organization. Are we really following the SOPs or we are not following? You see, this is so many tasks which is happening. Every transaction is taking its own way. Now, what is happening is you have taken a data and given it a relevant meaning that, okay, this data is telling me something. It's a story telling the data. And this is becomes important on this area that we have explosion of data and we have so much of data which is there. Can we use it? And when we have to use it, friends, these are the things which allows us to do that. We can deal with the whole, we have technology right now. And personally, I'm a big fan of open source technologies. There are a lot of open source technologies like NIME and other things. And whatever you're seeing it here on the screen are all open source. So all these open source technologies allow us to deal with large volume of data, external data sets, unstructured data. When I say unstructured data, imagine you have data in PDFs, you have data in Word file, and you have data in database. Can we connect it all together? Yes. You have statistical models. There are a lot of models like Trusty and all the things which can help you doing anomaly detection. I'll come to machine learning later. And real-time analysis. You can actually do a lot of real-time analysis of what information is working, how it is going, and you just saw an interactive visualization. Now, all these things is becoming possible by a very interesting thing. Now, if I ask today a chartered accountant, did you know Excel? They will laugh at me. They'll say, what kind of question are you asking? This is our bread and butter. We do it every day. How many of you know that Excel is a very powerful language which is as a backend of Visual Basic? When you connect, basically you do a kind of a recording of macro. On the backend, it is actually doing some program. Now, similarly, what is happening is there is a new kind of, I would call it as revolution which is coming. That is called as, and I would highly recommend you to read it, it's called low-code or no-code development, which means you don't need to know coding. You don't need to know all these things to be able to do this. You just need to have a mindset that I want to take data from here and put it out there. In fact, you can just tell them, I want to see the data of sales. It will put it out there. You can just type it up there. Now, this kind of platforms are making it easier. Just like Excel made it easier for us to analyze it, this kind of platforms are making it easier for us to change all this. And that is a great thing. It's changing the way we look at stuff. It changes the way we work on that. And all these things are being managed. Coming to the last point of machine learning. Now, that's a very interesting area. It's one of very close to my heart. I think machine learning is a type of AI, which is like a kid, self-learning. And it's very powerful because of two reasons. First, humans can see data in 2-dimension or 3-dimension maximum. But machine doesn't have that kind of challenge. It can see it in any dimension it would like to do. Now that adds a lot of value to this. Because now you have a machine which is trying to see. So earlier what used to happen is, it used to be like this. You will know the logic, you will code the logic, you will connect the data source and output will come. Now it is different. You just give the data to the machine and the machine will basically think it over and try to do it. And it has become so easy, this concept. Why I say it becomes so easy, I'll just show you. Like there are, this is one of the platforms, S2.ai. You have to just upload your data. It just works on it automatically. It will do the machine learning on that without you telling it what to do. And that kind of powerful things are actually changing the face of business. Because businesses would like to know insight, which others were not aware of. So that's the kind of interesting thing which is coming on the way, and we can actually leverage it. So moving forward, guys, this is on AI and automation, which is changing. I talked about process mining, which I showed you. Only thing what I have done is I have taken the timestamp of when this activity happened. And the machine has actually tried to see it in multiple factors and was able to tell me that more close to maybe 60% of the purchase order are modified, which is not a good sign. We all know PO should not be modified so much. Only there is a kind of thing. And there are more than 200 instances of manual payments. Not a good thing again. So we need to see all these things in our perspective and be able to work it. Okay? Next comes, friends, data analysis. Now, the analytics is a growing field altogether. We call that nowadays a cognitive science because it's not just one thing. There are multiple things which are happening together, and it basically gives you this thought of what happened, what was the thing which happened, and which is more of hindsight. You're taking the past data and trying to analyze it. Second, it gives you the insight. Where is the problem? What actions are needed for this? Or why is this happening? And foresight, what if the trend continues? What will happen next? Or what is the best that can happen in the given scenario? So all these kind of questions, analytics can answer for you. Okay? So we need to be sure of what is changing, how it is changing, and what we can do about that. The last point, I have another 7 minutes before I can 10 minutes of question answer. So is on a very interesting concept called blockchain. And this is something which was mentioned in Harvard Business Review about blockchain. That said, that the disruption has begun, and blockchain is going to do the financial system, the banking, the accounting, what internet did to media. When I say internet did to media, I'm sure a lot of you are actually right now consuming any kind of content on media using any of the OTT platforms and other things. Now, people are not having the same old DTH kind of environment which is there. That happened because internet is there, and you can consume anything what you'd like to do it based on that. So similarly, blockchain as a concept is trying to change that. And a lot of people think blockchain is Bitcoin, but that is not true. See, we are custodian of the ledgers. This used to be a ledger at one point of time. Maybe Prabhadeep sir and I used to do our articleship. Nowadays, that time it used to be your ledger tallies, your audit is over. Your trial balance tally, audit is over. But we have come a long way. But ultimately, a ledger has brought forward, carry forward, and all this kind of stuff. So I'll not go too deep into that, but I can just tell you that the blockchain timeline is on the same line. In October 2008, there was one, paper which was published by Satoshi Nakamoto, which was very interesting. It was all about the cryptocurrency. But Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto, when he wanted to discuss about, okay, this is what I would like to do, he said it's very important to keep a track of all the transactions which are happening. So for knowing what are the transactions which are happening and how we can leverage it, what are the things which we can do, he wanted to have a foolproof ledger. And when they were designing the ledger, they gave blockchain, which was a very powerful ledger, which has taken into account a kind of database, you can say, which is auditable, tamper-proof, and can manage things in a very different way. And this was an amazing thing which happened in 2008, but people started realizing this in 2014. That was the first time LBI PAN actually came on to that. And from their time, people have started seeing blockchain into multiple use. You can see it has, gone a long way in terms of doing it. Now, I will just try to very simply, talk about what blockchain does and use of that. Nothing much right now because I would just request you. But one of the key things it can change, friends, is the problem of double entry system of bookkeeping. In double entry system of bookkeeping, we have a challenge. The challenge is reconciliation. And anyone who has been retail will understand what I'm trying to say. Think of one database which can be copied or can be recreated in multiple places. It is tamper-proof, is auditable, and I can have, instead of double entry, I can have triple entry. So, usually we write in the books of X, this is the entry. In the books of Y, this is the entry. I will write in the books of blockchain, this is the entry also. 3 entries are possible, so that there is a single source of truth. So I will have a database which is time stamped, which means no one can change it. You can append only, which means you can just add more information to that. You remember we used to have something called as rectification entry. Once the entry is passed, you can't change the entry. So it's very important append on these things. And it's an auditable database by using technology, hash function, what we use in digital signature. I'm sure all of you heard about digital signatures and all the things. And that's kind of thing. And it has a kind of a cost of trust because there are multiple parties involved. And how do they do that? They have multiple concepts, multiple plans of doing that. So there's a consensus protocol which is used. Now that's a way a new kind of database is being created. And where, because the data is put into multiple blocks, you can't cheat. Why you can't cheat? Because I will keep on putting the blocks. And if you try to tamper with block number 74, the whole building will collapse. So no one is going to do that because they know if I'm going to be find out whatever I'm doing, then there are going to be challenges. So it's a trust principle, which is, trust of safety, trust of issuance, trust of correctness, and it is being used at multiple places. See the thing. They are using it in border control. Who has gone inside? Like, you have customs and other things. They are using it out there. They are using it for voting, for mobile payments, insurance, smart contracts out there. They are using it to protect the endangered species. They are trying to use it in shipping. There is Maersk is one of the company along with IBM. They are trying to, basically change the way international trades are done because in shipping, there are so much of forms they have to file at every port of entry. It is really, really very inefficient way. So can we make it better? They are using it in land registries. Already in countries like Ghana, the complete land records are on that. All these issues of encumbrance certificates and all things can change. It has been used across the world. There are amazing use cases which are there. In fact, I would suggest you to go to this site. There is one in Twitter, State of the Debts. Okay. This is the site where you have list of maybe, more than 3,700 applications of blockchain. And they keep on talking about that on a regular basis. What are the new uses we can do it? How we can actually leverage it up, using it into social media. It can be insurance for nexus for mutual funds. You name it, they have so many use cases out there. So I would highly recommend you to go to this site, and explore it up because you will get to know that this is something which is going to impact financial systems worldwide. And it is already happening. Countries like Ghana is adapting this. They have a kind of blockchain called Ben, which they use it for all the land registry. And that's very interesting because it has been very popular out there. Now, similarly, there are a lot of other things which is happening. To summarize, all these things what we are seeing are changing this emerging area. And I forgot to mention one more, which was IoT, Internet of Things, which was very important. Because there are more machines connected to the internet than humans today. And these machines are generating a lot amount of data, semantic data. And this data can give you a lot of insight. Let it be agriculture, let it be stock taking, let it be anything. We have a huge use cases which are coming up in terms of working it out. So, friends, as we were discussing, the fourth industrial revolution has enabled all these technologies which we are talking about. And this fourth industrial revolution is also enabling businesses to work in a different way. We don't see businesses using typewriter today because now we have emails and other mode of communication like Zoom, meetings, Teams, and blah, blah, blah. So people are never going to go back to those days of memos being sent and all things. And similarly, with all these new technologies, automation technologies like RPA, machine learning from AI, a huge amount of data which we are having right now. Plus, we have this infrastructure of open source. And take that up, it is going to impact a lot of things. Also, blockchain, data science, which is more of, we call it as now decision science. And friends, cybersecurity, which is like you have to protect all the system. Because there are now concepts like zero trust, which is a very interesting concept altogether. And all these things together, and that's the reason I wanted to tell you in the beginning, there's no one area which is actually doing it. They are all interdependent. They are all working in a kind of a close harmony. We see this as a, I don't know if you've heard about chaos theory. It looks like a chaos theory, but it's actually a kind of chaos which is created. But because there is a word we call it disruption, digital disruption, and they are going to disrupt the way we do things today. So whether we like it or not. So coming back, just my message to all of you would be change before you are forced to change. And these are the things which are going to be there. So we can either be in this three strata of people. Either we can have deep dive into this and make a career out of that. As a chartered accountant, you are the best person for doing this area. You can be someone who can be adapted or evangelize this in your organizations. Be a person as someone who's doing it. Or third, it would be someone who knows, okay, this technology exists, so can we leverage it up in our day-to-day stuff? So I would say, be ready for that. This is going to be an amazing journey. Maybe around 10 years later when we meet, you will say, oh, this was all, you guys have predicted it all wrong. It will happen more faster or anything as such. But these technologies are going to go into it. That's all from my side. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. Thank you, producer. Thank you, sir. And I really appreciate this time. I hope it was valuable. And in case you want, the book, just drop me a mail. I'll just thank you for this. Over to you.
Thanks, Anand. Anand, just few days back, I came across the negative impact which artificial intelligence is having, an example of how it's used in, employment, screening of the CVs, and
yes.
So there is a continuous improvement, I'm sure, which will happen. And but how do you see this, and how the things move positively better?
Okay, that's a very good point, and I would say this happens everywhere. Every technology which we say, this is actually because I have worked with technology firms for more than 15 years now. I would say that, whatever the sales guys tell you, don't listen to that. Every technology will take some time to become mature. Because, we would actually see things in one or two perspective. And you are very right. AI has a lot of challenges also, and that is also create a new opportunity. I'll give you one similar example to that. So in California, they actually made a machine learning model, which will say where are the crimes happening. You put the geographic location, and wherever there are more crimes happening, we will actually send our patrol cars out there. So the patrol car can basically be there. A police car is there and the light is blinking. The chances of any kind of crime will go down. So they actually put multiple parameters that, how much crimes has happened, how frequently crimes has happened, and all these things. One of the parameters is what kind of race stays there, black race or white people or black people, neighborhood kind of thing. So there was also a kind of weight was given for that. After 3 months, they figured it out that more and more of the police cars are going to the black neighborhood, not in the white neighborhood. Because the person who has done the thing, he gave a weight of 50% to black neighborhood, and rest of the thing were divided 50%. Now, this is actually kind of a creation of a wrong AI. Now, you would be happy to know that now there is what we call as Algorithm Audit Association, AAA. So there is a new association which has come. They say that algorithms also need to be audited. They need to be biased because humans are biased. We don't want our algorithm to become biased also. Now, that is one of the key things which happens, and as you rightly said, it will take some time before we can actually see a kind of thing. And people are now coming out with a lot of, Google has recently published some of the AI manifesto, which are that any AI you are building, what should it do? Just like we has to have the robot manifesto, which was like, robot cannot harm a human and all things. They are actually coming out with a manifesto out there. So we'll see. It is going to be an emerging area, and initial hiccups are going to be there. And that's why I told you, we have to have the experimental mindset that, okay, let's try out with a small POC, a proof of concept, and see how it works it up, and then take that forward. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah. One more question we have. We have been saying since the pandemic started that acceleration, multiplication of the IT has happened. So has it been just limited to working from home, or the impact in the year 2021 has been better. There have been good investments going in the automation or cyber security or blockchain. Considering, working from home, more things may be required on the cyber security side. So
Yes.
how the things have been progressing in the year 2021?
So there's a very interesting area of because there are two things which has happened. You're right. Everyone said there is going to be acceleration. Yes, that has happened. That created more cyber crime also. Because imagine a situation. I'll tell you something about companies like a bank. I used to work for a bank earlier, and a bank they would be at that point of time. I'm talking when I was working. It's not that they cannot afford a laptop, but they never used to give a laptop. It used to be desktop because they want you to work from the office. Wi-Fi used to be there. We never used to use Wi-Fi because it is, you are creating the surface for attack surface bigger. Why do you want to have the attack surface bigger? But imagine that company has to allow everyone to work from home with a lot of confidential information and all. Now that has led to a lot of cyber crimes also. So acceleration has happened on both sides. The challenges have also been high. And there is a kind of a burnout also which is happening among people, because whatever you say, work from home, we are actually social animals. Humans are social animals. We want to have that social dynamic to be able to work it out. And that creates a lot of other issues which is there. But one thing which has happened is, which I actually think is amazing, the world has become a kind of a flat area. World is flat. There's a book by Thomas Friedman. You've heard about that. It's actually become a flat right now because people have realized, like I have friends who are in US and actually they are working from home. The question was asked to them, hey, you're working from home. It doesn't make sense. Anyone can work from India also and finish the same job. So there was a lot of new experimentation and other things which came up, which has both good and bad social impact, which is going to happen. We'll see. This is going to be a long experiment. I'm telling you, this is something looks like to be a good social experiment which has happened, which we'll see what comes out of that. So that's my perspective.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing what has been happening on. And I would request our committee secretary, G. Ranganathan ji, to please propose a vote of thanks.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. Am I audible?
Yes,
Pradeep ji?
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, see, Anand sir, you very well brought out how technology is changing and is making things redundant in no time. You gave the example of pager. I also give an example of organizer.
Yes,
Perhaps
sir.
these two technologies and these two gadgets,
Yes.
they perhaps had a very short life.
Yes,
But
sir.
when they came in the market, they were a big hit. You also pointed out the amazing speed with which the world is changing. I would tell you that ICAI is really seized of this change. And there was a time when I joined this institution when we were changing our syllabus once in 10 years.
Uh-huh.
Now we have been doing once in 5 years, and the thinking is we should do once in 2 years.
Yes, sir.
We already have set up a committee for review of education and training, and we feel that 2 years is a good enough time to totally revamp the syllabus. The various 2 years means just 4 exams. The various CPE programs that we conduct from the ICAI, they also give very contemporary knowledge to the members, like the one we currently are doing for our young members. You correctly brought out how automation, artificial intelligence, blockchain, cyber security and control, data analytics, or everything is creating the impact. You also mentioned that average span of a company staying in Fortune 500 is just 2.5 years. Even in India, if we see the top 10 companies of 80s, or we see the top 10 companies of 90s after the liberalization, and the top 10 companies today in terms of market capitalization, huge change. Perhaps none of those 10 are today there.
Yes, sir.
And none of these 10 will remain after 10 years maybe. So that is the speed with which things are changing. And then the sessions like yours, sir, will really as an eye-opener for all our members, particularly young members, that the only answer to all this is keep yourself abreast of everything, be futuristic, be ahead of the times. Thank you so very much, sir. Very wonderful session. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranganathan ji. Now we move on to our second session, and it's on a very interesting and very keenly deliberated topic like future and impact of technology, which is soft skills being key drivers of success. That's what Suma is here today to share about. And allow me to introduce Suma. Suma Rajesh, she is based out of Abu Dhabi, UAE, and she is a member of our institute since the year 2000. She has also qualified the US CPA examination, and she is a tutor for US Certified Management Accountancy course and is presently working as a director for US CMA program with Bradford Learning Global. Before she moved to the teaching profession, she has worked with banks in the banking industry, with banks in India and Qatar. And her area of expertise in banking is corporate credit risk. Her other active pursuits include yoga and meditation, in which she is also a prefect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Soma, for being here with us and taking a very interesting topic. And I'm sure the way these soft skills have to be imbibed in our lives, I'm sure our young members will be able to grasp a lot of things from what you will be sharing today. And I would encourage all our members to be attentive, and if you have any questions, please put it there and we will take towards the end of the session. And with this, I request all of you to please give a big virtual round of applause for CA Suma, Rajesh, and Suma, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pradeep. Thanks a lot. So, good evening to one and all. Very happy and excited to be here and interacting with you all. At the outset, let me first thank ICAI, the Institute, President of ICAI and CMIB for this opportunity that has been bestowed on me. Very thankful and grateful for this. So, first of all, the very first thing that I want to do is congratulate all of you here for the tremendous, victorious victory that you have actually gained. And so, let me start with congratulating each one of you. I'll just quickly share the screen. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, great. So congratulations. And I think your batch is really special because you have gone through these difficult circumstances and yet you have come out victorious despite all the odds. So hearty congratulations to one and all.
Yeah,
Now,
Suma, yes, Suma, we have participants from almost last 4 years, yeah? Not only young members. We must be having some who have just qualified, but we have invited other members also, yeah.
That's wonderful.
And those who
Wonderful.
have qualified in the last 5 years, yeah.
Okay. That's really good to know that we have also so many members. I mean, not just the ones who have recently qualified, but also of the last 4-5 years. That's really wonderful to know. So I'm so glad that I'll be able to reach out to the young ones. So congratulations to all of you then, even the earlier batches. Now, the thing is, are we job ready? So this question I would like to pose to everyone here, including the ones who probably have already started working. You could be in a job, or you could be having your own firm. The question is, are we having the right skills to be employable? Are we prepared? So how is this journey from campus to corporate? Now, this is a time when most of you who have recently cleared the exams, you are thinking of taking up an employment or having your own startup or having your own firm. But the scenario has changed. I'm sure you would appreciate that in the campus, you are far relaxed. You didn't have much responsibilities. You didn't have timelines that were rigid. And you were responsible only to your own self. Right? But now when you move to the corporate, you are having a more formal structure. And you are expected to behave in a more professional manner. If you talk about timelines, yes, there are deadlines and you are expected to complete your job on time. You are expected to adhere to time, to certain values, be punctual. So there is a drastic shift from campus to corporate. So if you think that yes, we have cleared the exam and we are just ready to get to the next level, it's good. You must be enthusiastic about it. But the question that we need to pose is, how can we make this transition smooth? Because in the corporate side, there are some untold expectations and some unwritten rules, I would say. And we need to be aware of that before even we join the corporate. And if you are already working, it is good to be aware. And I hope this session helps even those who are already working. So that brings me to ask you, what are these corporate expectations from us? So what are the corporates expecting from the qualified CAs? We already have the technical skills. What else is required? So whether you go into a conventional job or a very non-conventional one, there are some skills that we are talking about. There are some expectations of the corporates that we are talking about, which we need to be aware and we need to work on it if required. So the corporate requires us to have a blend of the academic rigor, which you have already gone through, and some more skills. So what are those skills? And what am I here for? What am I wanting to discuss with you? So this is what I'm here to discuss. Soft skills, which are an essential driver of success. So what are soft skills? They are also called people skills. Most of you might be aware about it. We are talking about interpersonal skills as compared to the hard skills or the technical skills, which you already have, which has got you here. So hard skills help us to do our job better. On the other hand, soft skills help us to be a good human being and to be a good human being to work with, to be compatible with others. And probably that is one differentiating factor between you and others. And I believe, out of my experience, that soft skills are an essential part of our career, something that we cannot ignore. And I'm sure everybody here wants to succeed in their career. So I think having technical skills is one part, and the other major part is having this required soft skills. They are also called employability skills. So these are required whether you work independently or in a team. You need those. And that is what employers are looking for. These are I also believe that these are not just for workplace. These are something that you would require in day-to-day activities. The unfortunate part is that these skills are not taught in a school or a university. Our curriculums do not lay emphasis on soft skills much. There's a whole lot of emphasis on technical skills, on mugging up and learning things, learning the technical aspects. But there is very little emphasis on soft skills. But then when you actually move to corporate, this is where what is really desired. So these are some employability skills that I could think of. As you can see, we are talking about communication, confidence, teamwork, time management, leadership, analytical thinking, emotional intelligence, etiquette and grooming, responsibility and trustworthiness, respectful, willingness to learn, positive behavior, humility, being ethical, decision making. You could add some more to it, but I think that these are some basic soft skills that one must be interested in. And these are what are extremely valued by employers. So why do we need soft skills? So if we have these soft skills, as you can see, that it increases your chances of success. It helps you position yourself as a well-rounded candidate. People who have these skills are most in demand. It is the expectation of others from us. It helps you fit in the workplace easily. And having soft skills makes you effective leaders. So having these soft skills makes you very compatible to work with. Okay, whether you be a subordinate or a senior or a colleague at the same level, doesn't matter. But these soft skills help you to fit in with the workplace in the right way. And if there are two candidates I need to select from, if both have the same technical skills, then soft skills becomes the deciding factor, whether for recruiting, promoting, or giving a raise. So, as a job seeker, it is important to highlight your best soft skills as well as hard skills to position yourself well, right? When you have your resume, you do put in your skills, right? You mention what are those soft skills that you have. And note that employers do take interest in that part. Okay, many of you probably would be just, writing anything randomly there when it comes to soft skills. But I suggest you give serious thought to what you are mentioning. In fact, it is very important to know and to learn. There are specific soft skills for specific jobs. For example, if you are into customer service, you should have good communication skills, right? If you are a relationship manager in a bank, then you should be having those skills to negotiate. So you must know what are those soft skills required for the position that you are applying or that you are already working in, right? So, and the good news is that although it is difficult, but it can be learned. When I say it is difficult, I mean that basically these soft skills are personality traits. Okay, we are talking about soft skills are those things which are a part of your personality, your attitude, your mannerisms, your behavior. Now, bringing a change in that is difficult because we are conditioned to think in a way, to behave in a particular way. And we have been doing that day in and day out. To change our attitude, to change our behavior is difficult, but it's not impossible. It is very much possible, and we can learn, we can improve upon that. So let us take the most important skills and let us just be aware about what kind of skills are required. Talking about effective communication skills, we need to be effective at communicating, right? Because we are working in an organization where there are people and people make organizations. It's all about people connecting with each other. We are communicating with our seniors, with our subordinates, with our peers, with clients. So we need to be doing it in the right way. We should be saying something that we actually mean. There shouldn't be any gap between what we think and what we say. That is what is effective communication. To be able to communicate well. But unfortunately, the current generation, I would say majority of them are lacking in this skill. More as compared to the earlier generation, thanks to technology. People these days, they prefer to text than to pick up a phone and call. So it is very important to check for oneself, am I good at communicating? So what are the different things that are a part of communication? Communication can be verbal or written. So it's very important to know the language. And most of the at workplace normally we use English, so it's very important to know the language well and be fluent, be articulate, and especially if you depending on which field you are in. Suppose you are working closely with the legal team where you are you need to know the legal terminologies, then you should get good at it. If effective communication would also mean being effective in confrontations, difficult conversations, you should be able to hold. Giving and receiving feedback is a part of communication. So whether it be in person or on phone, whatever it is, ask yourself, is this the best way that I can present or discuss? Or could there be a better way? That is how we can improve. If we talk about written communication, day in and day out, in the workplace, we write emails, we write reports, and there are some rules to be followed. And we should be aware about the basic etiquettes, rules regarding written communication. So, just for example, just let me give you an example. Before I send an email, it's always required to proofread. It's required to respond promptly to the emails. There is a reasonable length of emails, right? So there are a lot of rules regarding communication, whether it be verbal or written. How should be the tone? If it's written communication, it has to be clear, polite. The tone should be soft, not only for written communication, but even verbal. At workplace, we should be very careful with the tone with which we communicate. And being a good listener is a very, very important part of effective communication. Confidence. This is also an equally important soft skill, I would say. So confident in your thinking, in your speech, and also it would get reflected in your behavior. You should have the right body language, which reflects confidence. If you are confident, you would appear more aspirational. There is this commanding presence of you, which is felt when you walk in. And having the right body language is like, not slouching or stammering. So confidence does not mean that I think that I know everything. That is overconfidence. Rather, it is the belief that you have in yourself, in your capacity to learn, if required, and accomplish a particular task. Right? And once you have the confidence, it is equally important to showcase your skills. So that also is equally important, to demonstrate that confidence, to showcase. One of the very, very important soft skills. In fact, this is the most important one, I would say. Emotional intelligence. The definition reads like this: the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways, to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. We are talking about emotional stability in many areas, whether it be managing stress or managing your relationships or working under pressure. We are talking about being objective, not getting very personal about things. Emotional intelligence does not mean being too emotional or being less emotional. It is to have the right level of emotional involvement. It is to have that right connect. And we should know exactly how much emotion is to be attached to each other, to everything that we get involved. So let me give you an example. You get an angry customer, but you still keep calm. You keep working, you handle the customer well, you don't lose your temper, you don't lose your balance, and after some time you are also in a position to laugh it out. So being calm, being cheerful, even when things go wrong, maintaining that emotional stability, not getting very personal, that is what is a part of emotional intelligence. And this is something which everybody requires, because these days there is so much pressure, whether it be at workplace or at home, in relationships. This is something that is, I think, really desired. The behavior. How should the behavior be at workplace? There should be enthusiasm about what we are doing. We should be always be on the move, sort of. No complacency. And if we are enthusiastic, we have a positive attitude, we automatically become more approachable, more pleasant to deal with. We attract people. And smiling is a part of it. Being pleasant, having a pleasant expression on the face is so very important these days. Just imagine a workplace where everybody is into their, laptops, not talking to each other and very serious. Would you want to go to that kind of workplace, or would you want to go to a place where people are enthusiastic, smiling, so energetic, flexible. So I think this is also equally important. It's about the attitude that we have. We need to be working on our attitude to have that kind of behavior. It is not something only external. To have that kind of behavior, it has to come from within. If we are internally enthusiastic, automatically it will show up. Being genuine is so very important. As I said, if we are genuine, if we are honest, whatever we think is what is going to be reflected. And I tell you, it is very easy to trace those kind of people, to make, if you have a group of people, it is very easy to, make out who is the most genuine person in this group. It reflects on the way you behave, it reflects on the way you talk, the way you work. Again, this is one skill, or I would say this is one attitude that we all need to have in our daily lives, whether it be workplace or in any environment. The next one is etiquette and grooming. So there are meeting and greeting etiquettes. There are etiquettes related to emails, the way we communicate, or how do we attend to telephone. So etiquettes are, there are a lot of etiquettes. Even etiquettes, how we eat, how we dress. Especially when we are working in a professional environment, in organization, it is very important to talk in a way, to behave in a way, to be more courteous, right? For example, etiquette would not allow a person to keep his hands in the pockets while speaking, or keeping your hands crossed. That is not the right manner. If we talk about meeting etiquettes, being on time, carrying a pen and a pad, writing pad to the meeting, keeping our mobiles off or on mute during a meeting, those are all basic etiquettes. This is not something that somebody is going to teach you, but if you are not aware, it's good to know them. If we talk about telephone etiquettes, if you are in an office place, if you are receiving a call, it is always desirable to have, to greet in a particular way, to hold the conversation in a polite manner. How do you handle your own personal phone? There are rules, there are manners relating to that also. For example, what kind of ringtone you put? It has to be low. Keep your calls short. If it's a personal call, don't be on a call for more than 2 minutes or 5 minutes. So these are some etiquettes, just few examples that I'm quoting, just for you to be aware that there is a lot. If you want to actually, understand more about etiquettes, you can. There are a lot of resources available. You can see that and understand. Dressing. Again, dressing is something that creates your impression. It makes your impression. It shows your attitude and your intention. It sends a message and speaks volumes about you. Just imagine, if you're going for an interview and you are really well dressed with very neat clothes, ironed, crisp, as compared to another person who comes in, very clumsy clothes. What is it that you can make out from the dressing? It's not just the dressing. you can make out that the second person who is dressed clumsily is not very serious about the interview. He has taken things for granted. He is not enthusiastic about it. So there is a message actually that we give through our dressing. So it's important for us to be aware of the rules that are regarding the type of clothing that we wear, and even regarding the accessories that we carry. For example, I mean, for men, it would be what kind of ties they wear, what kind of watches, or what kind of shoes they wear. For women, it could be what kind of bags they carry, what are the other accessories that they wear. I wouldn't go into the details, but I would keep it very straightforward here that if it's about clothing, it should be very clean and crisp and ironed. And the colors should always be subtle. And go with the formal colors like white, blue, grey, black, brown. It shouldn't be too loud, too attention seeking. That holds good for accessories also. These details which may look, trivial, but they do matter. And again, another important skill, which even in the earlier speech we discussed, Mr. Anand has brought about, how we need to be futuristic, how we need to be on the go always. We need to keep learning. Technology is transforming the way we are doing our business. So it's very important for us to be open to learning. Be curious. Have the desire to learn new things. It's okay to not know everything. But be confident in what you know and be curious to learn what you don't know. Take criticism in your stride and work on those areas which require learning. Think like a leader, even if you're not one, but think like a leader. What does leaders do? Leaders don't know everything that's out there. Okay, if we talk about the head of a company, he might not know the technicalities of all the departments. But he is ready to listen, ready to learn, ready to make decisions based on the learning. Right? So, learning is something that we need to do all throughout our lives. Gone are the days when we used to just, study, do one course with graduation during those days and then just work for another 20, 30 years without adding on any new skill. Gone are those days. Now, here, these are the times when we need to keep learning day in and day out. Being responsible and trustworthy. These skills that I'm talking about are something that employers are looking for, and this is one of the key things that they want in everybody they recruit. They want people to be responsible to their job. This is their expectation. Not only to the job, not only to the role, but also responsible towards the resources of the organization. What do we mean by resources? It is the property that we are using. So not using the office property for personal use, or not using the office time for personal jobs. That is also part of being responsible and taking ownership of what we do. That brings in trustworthiness. So being responsible helps us to gain the trust of the employer. It also means putting the organization's interest above one's own interest. So even if I'm not well on a particular day, just because there is a client meeting in the office on that day, I will still make it to the office even if I'm not well. What does that mean? That means if I have committed to certain thing, if I'm expected to be there at a particular time, I have to be there, come what may. That is what helps us to gain trust of the employer. And this is something which is employers are not going to compromise with this particular skill, you may call, or you may call a part of a person, his character. This is something that nobody would want to compromise. Being respectful. If we want to be respected, we must first respect others. So we need to be courteous, whether it be in language, the language that we use, or the manners. It's also about respecting other person's viewpoints. Respecting people, respecting spaces, respecting their privacy. When I say respecting people, so not just my superior, but everybody, including the office assistants. I must respect them for what the job that they are doing. Just because they are human beings, I need to respect them. Respecting the spaces. What does that mean? So, if it's a closed space, I don't have a cabin for myself. I'm working with people sitting just next to me. So I should not be too loud. I should not be using others' properties without permission. So if I have to borrow something, I need to ask them, I need to request them. These are a part of respecting people, respecting spaces. I should not barge into others' offices. I need to seek permission before I enter into a room. And use spaces as designated. If there is a space designated for eating food, if there's a kitchen, you should not be eating on your desk. That is what is respecting the space. So we have different spaces designated. A lot of organizations have spaces for, eating, space for smoking, and various other things. So you have to respect that. So respecting not just people, spaces, privacy, it's also respecting rules of the organization. So it's very important. If you are joining an organization, it is very important to know the rules of the organization and also the local customs. Many a times the rules may not be, very clear, or maybe not very written somewhere, but then there are some unspoken rules which you should be aware of. For example, I know of a bank where they have rules regarding dressing. So the men have to wear a plain shirt. They should not be wearing check shirt. So if there is a rule like that, then one needs to abide by it. And then there are rules relating to local customs that also must be respected. Humility. Very, very important to be polite and humble and to stay grounded. And why you might think, how is that going to really make a difference? But this is what is going to make a difference. This is what makes a difference between an effective leader and not so effective leader. And this is one of the essentials of greatness, I believe. And humility is one thing that can take you to greater heights where arrogance cannot. So if you look at many of the leaders, you will feel that they are very, very humble, open to learning, open to criticism, feedback, very open-minded people, right? Very polite in the way they talk. Those are all things that we need to be imbibing. Teamwork, you all already know that we are working in organizations, we are not working in isolation, and we are not just working for ourselves, we are working for the organization. So we need to work and we need to collaborate. We need to work together. We need to have healthy discussions. And that would require us to look beyond personal gains. And time management is something, yes, that we require day in and day out, not only for working, not only at office, but everywhere. Time management is something that is really required. We live in a fast world, ever-changing world. Even if we have to take a break for lunch, we always look at our watch. So we have set times for how much time we should be spending on eating, time to hang out with friends, and we need to manage it well. And at workplace, we need to respect the deadlines. We need to be doing things even before the deadline. How do we do that? The key is to prioritize jobs. Your employer is not going to be happy if you consistently miss deadlines. Even if you have your technical skills, even if you know everything, but if you can't meet deadlines, it is of no use. So how do you do it? There are many ways to do it, and one of the key things that I believe is to be able to prioritize your jobs. Not just on the basis of urgency, but on the basis of importance. Leadership. Who is an effective leader? What are the qualities that leaders demonstrate? And that is what you can see on the screen. Ability to lead, extreme ownership, highly disciplined, result-oriented, enthusiastic, motivating others, problem solving. So these are some qualities that leaders demonstrate. They put others' interests before their interests. They take ownership of everything that their team does. And not just the good job, but even for the mistakes that the team does, it's the leader who takes ownership, who embraces that responsibility. So you might probably, because you're in the initial years of your career, you might think that since I don't have any subordinates, this is not what is applicable to me. But that's not the case. The quality of leader should be there in each one of us, irrespective of whether we have a team to lead or not. That attitude of being a leader, the attitude of, the ownership, taking ownership for what we have done, being disciplined, being goal-oriented, all this is a part of being a leader, and we should be trying to have those qualities even before we actually step to that position. Finally, ethics and integrity. What are ethics? They are the principles that guide us to make a positive impact through our decisions and actions. Why is ethics important in a workplace? We are talking about qualities like honesty, truthfulness, fairness, responsibility. Why is that required? Because such people are more reliable and committed. And employers look for this quality more than the technical skills. So we are talking about people who are more result oriented. They follow the rules and regulations. They meet deadlines. They are honest. They are committed. So employers may accommodate such employee even if he or she is lacking the technical knowledge. To some extent, if they have to choose between a person who is high on technical skills but low on ethics, and the other person who is high on ethics but moderate in technical skills, the employer will choose the latter. The person who is high on ethics but decent, just moderately decent with technical skills. So that is the importance of ethics, being ethical and integrity. So those are some skills that I thought I should discuss with you to make you aware about the important, what are those skills that are required at workplace. There might be a few more which you would like to, work upon. So how do we assess? Now that we have discussed about the various skills, the question is, how do we assess? Because this is something that you need to mention in your resume when you start your job hunt. Also, to be able to, be successful at your workplace, you need to be good at these skills. But how do we make that assessment? There is no metrics. Unfortunate part is that there are no metrics because to determine where we stand with soft skills. So I would say that being self-aware is very important, to know what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. Now, also we need to be aware that there are some jobs which require specific qualities. So we should also be assessing ourselves with regard to the job that we are doing. But most of the skills that I discussed with you are those that are required irrespective of whatever career you choose. So being self-aware, knowing yourself is very important. So you must ask questions like, what am I good at? What am I interested in? What skills do I have? You might have developed some skills either through learning or your life experience. Probably you might have undergone coaching for public speaking. So that is something that you can, and if you think you're good at it, that is something you can mention in your resume. Or it could be a skill that you have developed through your experience. Suppose you were leading in your university or in your school, you had some leadership position. That is where you demonstrated your leadership quality. So that is what your strength is. And then there are some career test tools also which use machine learning or psychometrics to help you determine what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you are still having trouble to decide to figure out what your skills are, then you can get ideas by looking at the job adverts, the job advertisements that you see. So employers specifically ask for some skills, some soft skills. So you can check if you have those skills and what you can do about it. So the next question, once we know what our skills are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, the next question is, how do we work on it? This is the main part of my entire exercise, my presentation. Now that we know that we are good at something, but we need to improve on some other skills, how do we do that? So the first thing is identifying and prioritizing. Okay, out of the 10, probably I'm not good at 5. I need to prioritize which is the most important out of that 5. Pick up one at a time and work on it on daily basis. Just take out 10-15 minutes. Let's say if you figure out that you're not good at communication or you are not good at the language, then on daily basis just take out 15 minutes and work on your language, work on your speaking skills. You can join Toastmasters. That is a way to handle that, to work on that skill. Work on one at a time. That's important. Work on, if we want to, bring about a change in our behavior, our attitudes, then we want to work on our thinking. Because a part of working on soft skills is to work on how we think. And we are always, we have fallen into a pattern of thinking over the years. And we behave in a particular way and we just take it for granted. We don't even think much about it. But then now, if we want to work on our soft skills, we need to start thinking about what my attitude is, what my beliefs are. Will it take me far ahead? So this whole exercise is like investing in oneself. So what does it require you to do? It requires you to be mindful and to keep trying and be disciplined about it. There are a lot of courses online. There are free courses. There are, you can go for attending workshops, whether it be free or paid. There are TED Talks. There are, virtual lectures you can attend. You can self-monitor and self-learn. And this is something, again, I think this is indispensable, to have a mentor, to have a guru. You would have seen that even the greatest of the sportsmen need a coach. Because they know that beyond a certain point, they stop improving. So think about the greatest of the players, greatest of the leaders. They all have a coach. They all have a leader. They all have a mentor. So I think that this is indispensable. Even if you have, you don't work on, you have forgotten about what we have discussed earlier. If you can take this as the takeaway for today, I think half your job is done. To have a person who helps you navigate through this whole career process. The mentor is going to be a critic, and he is the one who is going to measure your skills. He will help you with all those, unspoken commandments. He's going to track your progress when it comes to measuring your soft skills. So this is something which I think is indispensable. If you want to grow in career, find a mentor. Have somebody. So it's very normal for people to have, skill trainers. Soft and behavioral skill trainers are there. There are coaches. In fact, people at very high levels like CFOs and directors, they go for training. They go for leadership training and many other, they get trained for their soft skills. So if you can do it from right now, in the beginning of your career, I'm sure the speed at which you move is going to be faster. If you have a role model, then there's no harm in imitating. If you admire someone, just be like them. Just do what they did. So for me, being a teacher of USCMA, I have my role models who are great teachers like Dr. Abdul Kalam and many others. So I'm trying to imitate, I'm trying to follow them. Okay, that is one way of improving. These are some books that I thought are good to read and develop. You can take a note of these books and you can, read and improve. And yes, finally, when we talked about soft skills being, the driver to success, I thought it is important for me to mention here as to what is success and how do you measure it. And I'm sure everybody these days know that we don't want to measure success just by the money that we receive. I'm sure you all are on the same page. Goal is not to just make money, because if that is the goal, then there are chances that one might compromise with the ethic part of it, do something unethical. But we are talking about success which is to do with all-round development. Okay, to have a life that is fulfilling. So I would like to quote Warren Buffett on this. He said, what would you do if you have money? Think that you already have the money. You are not working for money. Then what is a job that you would want to do? So follow your passion. Do what you like to do. Create a vision for your life. Having a long-term vision, long-term view, because we want to be doing this thing on a sustainable basis. So taking into account every aspect, your work, your family, your relationships, health, everything is together is what is success. So I wouldn't discuss much on this concept, but there's a Japanese concept called ICAI. I guess most of you would be aware about that. That is something to be followed. So you can probably do a Google search and see what it says. Ikigai is something that you can be driven by. And finally, I would make my concluding remarks here. So there's an author called Simon Sinek. He says, we have to dream. How else will we make a future that does not yet exist? So I see you all as the future leaders. You are all the future CFOs and CEOs and directors. And you have earned the CA tag and you have put in so much of effort. It is certainly a very proud moment. And it's natural for your age to think only from your individual point of view at this moment. But here I would suggest you to think big. Not just for yourself, but dream big. Be aware that how you can impact, how you can make a bigger impact, not just on your life, but on the society as at large. Because the rights and privileges of the CA tag comes with a responsibility, I feel. So in fact, when I think of the global leaders that we have, CAs, it reminds me of, Union Minister Shri Suresh Prabhuji, Commerce Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, and CA Deepak Parekh, who is the chairman of HDFC. So these are the people we didn't know 30 years back that they are going to be so big. I'm sure our audiences here, there are people who are going to take those positions in future. So start dreaming big. That's the main message that I would like to convey. With that, I would pass it on to Pradeep ji. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mr. Pradeep. Are you there?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Sorry, my apologies. Thank you so much, Suma, for your wonderful session, and allow me to invite our committee secretary, Mr. G. Ranganathan ji, to please propose a vote of thanks.
Ma'am, it's a real pleasure to propose a vote of thanks for a very wonderful session that you have presented. You brought out clearly how soft skills are as important as technical skills. I would say that soft skills are very hard to get. You brought about more than dozen traits which qualify as soft skills, and very rightly, as you said, none of these are taught in school. They all have to be acquired through experience, through observing people, and through mentors like you. You rightly mentioned that soft skills are actually employability skills. Very true. You also detailed what kinds of soft skills, what different soft skills are composed of, like you mentioned about communication, emotional intelligence, behavior, responsibility, trustworthiness, humility, teamwork, integrity, ethics. Very, very important traits, which I am sure nobody teaches this. But all these are extremely important if one has to climb up the ladder. You also very lucidly explain how to acquire these soft skills. And lastly, thank you so very much for suggesting books that our young members can read. And the best session I also felt is that identify mentors. Very, very important that we have role models and mentors in our lives, and every one of us needs it at every point of time. Thank you for a very wonderful session. Grateful to you for your time and for sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranganathan ji. My request to all the members that tomorrow is the last day where we will cover goal setting with a very motivational speaker and how to get insights from the data. Another topic on technology on the last day. Please be here tomorrow. Stay safe, take care. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.